Ray Stubbs putting the questions. Well, Jimmy Hill and Alan Hansen were with us tonight to enjoy a game of football. Now it's become an inquest into this wretched hooligan business again, Jimmy. Everybody expressing disgust, and it was disgusting, but the solutions are a bit more difficult to come by. I haven't heard any solutions yet.
No, I think the first thing on which we probably agree is that it was premeditated and it was organised. I mean, those things don't happen by accident, and there was nothing there to inspire it if it hadn't been premeditated. Those people went there looking for trouble and looking to incite trouble.
England going a goal down had nothing to do with it in your estimation?
They depict some moment. It's a disease of our society, and it's outside the influence of football, in my opinion, to stop that kind of behaviour. We should be ashamed of it. People of my age are certainly ashamed of it. But there's nothing we individually can do about it. Governments can do something about it, and society can. It's no use keep casting the blame at football's door.
We've heard that police intelligence knew there was going to be trouble at the match. Indeed, they had some security officers in amongst the crowd there. They had riot police outside, and yet it still happened. Do you think the police were perhaps a little bit naive in their approach to it, or...?
There's never been a history of that kind of violence in Ireland.
Right.
And although they were expecting something, I don't think they expected the avalanche that eventually happened. 4,500 people. They weren't all involved by any means, but the mayhem that erupted made the whole scene impossible for decent, ordinary policemen to control. And it wasn't until the riot squad came in and actually handed out some quite severe medicine, which will upset a lot of people. They say they shouldn't behave like that. Look at the way they were whacking them with their truncheons. But, I mean, either society makes up its mind that it's going to, take the action that will bring an end to this kind of thing, or we stop worrying about it and just say, well, that's what it's like living in this country or in any country at this time.
I basically agree with that. I think that the Republic is the last place you'd expect any sort of trouble, but
their record's wonderful, isn't it?
It's fantastic.
In sport, both home and away.
And up till a week ago, I thought the dark days of the violence and the thuggery had gone, but obviously that's wrong. But football cannot admit defeat to this problem. I think it's better than it was 10 years ago, and if it means more cameras, more security, more police, more intelligence, and more resources, let's have them, because we cannot admit defeat. And I agree with Jim. I think it's on a broader basis. I think this is a law and order problem.
Yes.
And I think the court should have wider powers to impose stiffer penalties, and let's stop feeling sympathy for the perpetrators of violence. Let's feel sympathy for the victims, and we've got to eradicate this problem.
You see, closed-circuit cameras did a great job, really, in identifying those who are guilty. They're still there. I mean, they're still there in our grounds, and they still should be used, and the punishment should be handed out. That's one thing. I mean, I would like to see identity cards in this country. If you're talking about what should we do, innocent people, why should we worry about carrying identity cards?
Well, they do in most countries in Europe, don't they?
Yeah. I mean, for everyone. I mean, I've no resentment of that at all, and it would help. But I also think passports should be withdrawn of known offenders. I mean, if these people are saying, oh, we knew there were known offenders going there tonight and people going to cause trouble, for goodness sake, why don't we just take their passports away from them and say, you stay at home when the England team or any other team is playing abroad? I mean, either we make up our mind, that's society, that is, because I've said it's outside football's remit, and it really is. We make up our mind that we're going to eliminate that kind of behaviour from this country, because it is a disease, and unless we do that, they will laugh in our faces, as they continue to do, standing there with Nazi salutes. For those people who lost loved ones in the war and things, what do you think about that?
That's horrifying.
In a perfect world, you'd stop them travelling, and the FA stop taking tickets
the passports away. But if you know there are troublemakers, how are they allowed to travel? How are they allowed to go? They're allowed to travel. They shouldn't be.
It's difficult to stop them, isn't it?
Yeah. There's no law that allows that to happen at the present time.
The one thing I do resent, really, about it is that everybody takes some of the blame except the people responsible in a way. The Irish, were they a bit unawares? How do we allow them to travel? Government should do this, football should do that. In the end, everybody else is taking the share of the blame, and we don't get at those people who are the root cause of the problem. And that's what we have to make up our minds to do.
But you can still have security to prevent it. If the intelligence sources knew that there was going to be 40 or 50 troublemakers there, then the communication should have been better. and the Irish
I agree
police
with
should
that.
have been in there and sorted it out.
Yeah. Going back to football issues, there's a question mark now over the European Championship next year being held here.
Yeah. Oh, well, I think for some time now, I mean, we haven't been able to play England-Scotland matches. I mean, that's sort of just left. It's a civilised country. We're living in a civilised country. We can't play Scotland at football. I mean, it's unthinkable, really, but we've all accepted. We've all accepted that now. But when it comes to a major sporting event, I think the European authorities will realise that England, with its modern grounds, with the practice it's had at dealing with the hooligan element over here, will cope with it quite well. And I'm quite sure in the end it will go ahead and there won't be any trouble.
Never any problems at Wembley, is there? You know, when England play at Wembley, never any hint of trouble, and I think that'll be in England's favour.
Thank you for the moment. So we had to discuss it once again. One other piece of news, there's been no reports of serious injury arising